Hi everyone. I just thought I'd do a video to make it a little bit more fun. Wanted to do my reflection today on what my opinion is on the food policies. What did I learn from the three readings, and what will it take to ensure food security for all now and in the future? Well, this is a big learning curve. Definitely have loved the food sovereignty and food security, and food security is something that I have had some experience in working in the community. So these readings were definitely insightful, giving me more knowledge about what the terminology is. In the Simon Maxwell and Rachel Slater's article, one thing that stood out to me was when it says on page 535, supermarkets are inevitably involved in a business of selling food. Part of what Dollars describe here is a dominant policy framework for food. Consumers and individuals choose rather than public health and citizenship. I think that this is something that I kind of understood, that food is part of our choice and freedom, but in regards to selling a product and selling vegetables, and the difference between growing them were very interesting to me. This framework of old food and new food is definitely, I see in my family, as my grandparents were those who grew their own foods, and we had a large garden when we were growing up, and my grandma would always be in it. Whereas now my parents don't grow. We have a little garden, but we don't always grow all of our own food. And so that really kind of stood out to me, that, there's this market and selling. And I was walking down Victoria Street. I live in Vancouver, and seniors selling produce just on the sidewalk. Now, of course, in Canada, licensing and policies around selling food is very different than if it was in Asia. In Asia, their licensing and policies are not as high and strict and standards as in Canada. And this idea of selling food and business takes a different toll when you talk to a senior who is selling and growing their own crops to a corporate supermarket selling produce from a different country. The other thing that also stands out in the article was when they're talking about the food security, and that their importance of what food is, and also food safety. That was something that definitely popped out into my mind of what is the safety of food? So I had just had lunch with my parents. I took them out because they've been inside a lot, and most of the time during COVID times. And I thought I'd take them to Cactus, and we sat at the bar. Cactus Club is definitely one of those, higher end restaurants where the standards and quality are higher. Except when we were at the bar, there's an opportunity to watch the waitresses serve drinks and alcohol and serve food. And what I noticed was there was one drink that they were making, and they needed to cut up an orange. And they cut up an orange, and obviously I don't remember them knowing whether they washed their hands before or after they've touched this orange. I believe I saw one staff member cut the orange and placed it on a plate for the server. So there was a server on the other side. So this one was in the bar. So cut the orange in the bar, put it on this plate on the server side. The server touched the orange, put it on top of the glass, and then went to go serve the drink. That I cringed a little bit, because that meant there's a bit of contamination because 2 people touched an orange, and then the person who's actually consuming the orange will be touching the orange as well. So that whole thing of food safety is definitely something that I've grown up with, being a part of a restaurant and knowing what food safety is and taking multiple food safe courses was definitely an interesting kind of concept of learning that piece of it. So yeah, food security and food safety definitely goes hand in hand. And to kind of dive into the food sovereignty, Pimbert definitely kind of outlined what food sovereignty is, of being a paradigm of food, fisheries, agriculture, pastoralism, which I had to look up because I didn't really understand what that meant, and forced use, I guess, is in response to the democratic deficiency of, food. Food is this framework of agriculture and citizen mixed together in regards to food sovereignty. This understanding of growing your own food and consuming your own food, and understanding the ideologies of like fisheries and agriculture definitely puts into that framework of like, what are we actually consuming into our bodies, and allowing ourselves to be nourished. I know poverty is definitely a large thing where students in Vancouver don't have enough food and sometimes come to school hungry. And so this is something that I definitely see in our practices. A quote that is on page 43 of Pimbert, is that how you say their name? Pimbert's article, Food Sovereignty is a precondition of genuine food security. That's definitely a loaded quotation, but definitely speaks to me, because this idea of preconditioned, that what did we have before versus what do we have now, and what can we have in the future. I think that's something that sort of implies of what do we all have? Does everyone have it all equal, or is it just what I have and what I see doesn't change what someone else needs or wants? And so yeah, food, the hunger that I know of students, like I get students asking me all the time, do you have a snack? Do you have something else? Do you have, and I had been providing, like, say, granola bars or something that was, economically sound in my pocket to be able to support students that might be struggling and needed an extra snack. And it kind of makes me sad when I hear this, when students are looking for more food because they don't have enough in their lunch kits, or maybe their families don't have enough. Finally, I was looking into more in regards to food sovereignty. On page 50, it says, the mainstream definition of food security endorses of food summits and other high levels of conferences talk about everybody having enough food to eat each and every day. And that's very, really big, of knowing that students maybe in our classrooms may not have enough food every day. They might have food on the weekdays and maybe not enough on the weekends. I know there's an organization who I forget what they're called, but they're called something in regards to the blue backpacks, where they get food for the weekend, because that's when the students don't get food. Because if the school provides a food program, they have food during the school, like during school time and hours, and they'll get food. But on the weekend, they may not get anything. And so there's this program that provide food for students who need it for the weekend. So in all, I guess, food, like sovereignty, is like an umbrella of promoting like principles, autonomy, culturally, environmentally. We basically needing to know the big picture and the overall well-being of sort of everyone. This project that I did on Ritter Sport really kind of puts it into perspective of, where does my food come from? How far did it have to go for me to consume? And how much does it cost in order for me to eat, compared to like going somewhere else? I know that I can be a little frugal with my fruits and vegetables, and I try to save and rescue food where possible, and purchase food that are rescued, as opposed to needing to buy perfectly round tomatoes or perfectly round apples. But where and how far did it come from? I know that a friend and I, we now try to pick our own berries because we're able and capable of doing that. But then again, not everyone is able and willing to do that and have the funds or resources to do that. So in all, like, that's definitely an interesting section for me, knowing more about food sovereignty and the difference between that and food security. It's definitely a lot to learn and to take in, and I hope that I can continue more of these readings as I move along in this section of the course. Thank you.